Hi, my name is Wayne Haber. I'm the Director of Engineering of Defend at GitLab and wanted to give you a quick overview of the security trends in GitLab hosted projects blog post. So GitLab is unique, is that we have a solution for the entire DevSecOps lifecycle, and we host thousands of different projects. This allows us to compute trends and vulnerabilities across many different factors. So the vulnerability scanning solutions include static analysis, dynamic analysis, dependency scanning, container scanning, and secret detection. The top vulnerabilities that were found were components with known vulnerabilities, cross-site scripting, lack of secret management, content security protection, or the lack thereof, cross-site request forgery, and SQL injection. We've seen the trends change over time. For example, overall, we've seen projects doing vulnerability scanning increasing about 160% over the last 6 months. For the vulnerabilities of specific types, so the first one, scanned projects using components with known vulnerabilities. It's the top thing we see in about half of the projects scan, and it's been relatively stable over the last 6 months. Key things to do here are to make sure that during the build process, you're pulling the latest packages and their dependencies and recursive dependencies into your builds, and also scanning and making sure that you're using containers from a known reputable sources and that are have appropriate levels of minimal vulnerabilities in them. Next is cross-site scripting. Cross-site scripting is the number 2 vulnerability type that we find in about 20% of projects, and it's increased a little bit over the last 6 months in terms of how often we've seen it. Key things on cross-site scripting are to sanitize input data, make sure your developers also understand that it's not just about the data that can come in directly to the web browser, to the web application through the web browser, but also the attacks can come in as stored cross-site scripting, where the attack is sent to something that stores the data, for example, in a database or other data store, and then it's displayed in the web application later. That is a non-obvious way sometimes that these attacks can be successful. The other is many developers believe that an internal application is not a concern for cross-site scripting because an attacker won't know the structure of the internal application. Well, that could be a unfortunate assumption. If the attacker does know or can or does learn the structure of the internal application, the application can be vulnerable as well. Next, lack of secret management was number 3. It was seen in about 20% of projects that were scanned, and it's been relatively the same over the last 6 months. Key things on lack of secret management is to make sure developers understand why storing secrets in repositories, intentionally or unintentionally, isn't advisable, and giving them good tools to store and retrieve secrets in your environment. Next is content security protection, or the lack thereof. We've seen that actually where projects where we've seen this vulnerabilities increase quite a bit over the last 6 months. It was in about 8% of projects. The best practices on content security protection is educating your developers on it and setting up an environment so that they can take advantage of it. Content security protection is a little bit different than many other protection mechanisms. It actually runs in the web browser, implementing policies on a per application basis in terms of what it's going to allow the web browser to do. And it's a great way to detect and prevent things like cross-site scripting attacks where perhaps there is a vulnerability in the application that hasn't been detected. You can actually catch that it's being attacked with content security protection. You also have to do is make sure the web browser and the content security protection implemented in it has a place to send that data to. It's to a separate place from web browser to the separate place to store that data. Cross-site request forgery in about 6% of projects, and it's decreased a bit over the last 6 months in terms of how often we've seen it. Key things on cross-site request forgery are to really use the built-in frameworks for CSRF, cross-site request forgery protection, that many frameworks have. And lastly, in terms of the types, SQL injection has decreased a little bit over the last 6 months, and it's in about 6% of projects seen as well. Key things on SQL injection are to sanitize input and use parameterized database queries wherever possible. So we hope you find this report to be useful to you. Making sure you're educating developers on the top security risks and designing for security and automating security as far left as possible is really key for your organization. Doing this will not only improve the security of your applications, but will also improve productivity and morale for your development teams. If you have feedback on this report, things you'd like to see improved or considered for the next one, please do provide that feedback in this public issue. We've left it open to everyone. So thank you very much.